which we have a number of different organizations on there. And the point is that there are a number of organizations that really help to pull this meeting together to help promote the meeting, and including Peter Milano from the Mass Office of Business Development, Christine McCall and Maria Dickinson from the City of Lowell, Danielle McFadden from the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, and Rick Parker from the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce. And I included everybody's contact information and websites on this slide. And really the point is that we've got a lot of great resources that work really well together. And please check out the websites, contact us. We really want to help. So if there's anything that we can do, whether it's just bounce ideas off of us or whatever, I think we all really want to work with you to help get your business through this. So please reach out to us. We will be sending all of these slides out to you after this presentation. So don't worry about taking notes. I'm also going to record this meeting as well. So we'll send you a link to the recording. So if you know of people who were not able to jump onto this meeting, we'll send you the link so that they can get the information out there as well too. So with that, I think I will turn it over to SBA to start the presentation. And I can, no, Erin, you are in charge of the slides. Okay, so thank you, Lisa and Oreste.
Thank you, Stephanie. So, and thank you for hosting this program this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, for taking time to be with us. I'm Lisa Gonzalez Welch. I am an economic development specialist with the Massachusetts SBA office, one of the team members there, and very happy to be with you this afternoon. And I want to introduce my colleague, Oreste.
Hello, everyone. My name's Oreste Varela. I am actually out in Western Massachusetts. I'm the Springfield branch manager. The only thing I manage is myself, actually.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. So we can move to the next slide, Erin. Great. So for those of you who are not familiar maybe with the SBA, we are a federal agency. We have at least one office in every state, Guam, Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. And our mission really is to help start and grow businesses. And we do that in a variety of ways. Our agency, we provide counseling and training through our resource partners, SCORE, the Small Business Development Center, and our Women's Business Center, which is the Center for Women in Enterprise. We also help folks start and grow their business by helping them get access to capital. And typically these are done through lending institutions, whether it be a bank or credit union, to help them get the financing they need to either start or grow their business. We also help them grow their business by helping them getting into the contracting arena, how to acquire some of those contracts and subcontracts that can help them take their business to the next level, and even exporting their product or service to another country. And now today we're going to talk about disaster assistance. So typically you hear SBA probably on the news when there's a hurricane or a storm. There's physical SBA disaster loan program. Today's going to be a little bit different, where we're going to talk about the economic injury disaster loan program. So we can go to the next slide, Erin. And the next one, yep. So we're going to talk about a couple of programs today that can be of help for those folks who've been affected by the disaster, the pandemic. We're going to talk about the PPP program, which everybody's been hearing about. We're going to be talking about what we call the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. We're going to talk about SBA's Bridge Loan Program, and we're going to talk about SBA's Debt Relief Loan Program. So there's 4 programs that are available to small businesses that might be affected by the disaster, by the COVID-19 that's taking place right now. Next slide. So let's talk about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Emergency Advance Program. This was really came in part with the CARES Act, and it's really, this loan is to provide up to $10,000 of economic relief to businesses that are currently experiencing temporary difficulties as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. These funds will be made available following a successful application, and what we will stress is that make sure that when you do apply, that you've submitted all the information that has been asked for, and you've checked over your application before you submit it. And these advances do not have to be repaid. It's really for any small business affected by the COVID-19, any businesses with less than 500 employees, including sole proprietorships, independent contractors, self-employed individuals, private nonprofit organizations, 501c19 veterans organizations. And recently, where even faith-based organizations, including houses of worship, are eligible to receive loans under the PPP and EIDL program. So all of these are eligible, and you would get the application at the website that's listed below. Next slide. So let's talk about the terms of the loan. Oftentimes, people ask, well, how much can I get? Well, the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, is for loans for up to $2 million. That being said, it doesn't mean that everyone will get $2 million, but the maximum is $2 million. The interest rate for these loans, it's 3.75 for small businesses and 2.75 for nonprofit organizations. In these loans, the intent, it really is for working capital. They're based on the size of the business, and it's really intended to get the business back to where it was prior to this disaster hitting. It's not really meant for leasehold improvements. It's not meant for you to buy out your competitors. It's really meant to get the business back to where it was prior to the disaster hitting. So how can you use these loan funds? Well, these are working capital loans, and they can be used to pay bills that you wouldn't, that now you can't otherwise had not, if the disaster hadn't hit, to pay payroll, accounts payable. All of that can be done using the Economic Disaster Injury Loan Program. So how to apply? Well, it's gone through a couple of versions, and now we have a very easy, streamlined application system. Initially, when we placed it out there, and as you can imagine, all this has been coming together quite quickly, the system wasn't able to support the volume. So initially, you would go in and you would apply. Second version, you had to upload your application. Right now, you would go to the site, apply, or you either have the option of completing the application and mailing it to our SBA disaster office at Fort Worth, Texas. Now, oftentimes, Oreste, myself, and the rest of our team will get calls and emails every day of folks asking for the status of their loan. Can you tell me where it's at in the queue? Can you tell me when I should be hearing something? Unfortunately, we at the district level, we don't have access to the system that our SBA disaster team has. So we have no method of going in and checking the status of a loan application. We would suggest for anyone who's interested in finding out the status to either call the 1-800 number or send an email. Although the volume is immense right now, I think Oreste can attest to that. When you apply, they typically issue an application number, and they are processing the loans as they come in. One of the things that we're hearing is that, you know, how can I tell I'm a small business owner that they're not going to take someone ahead of me? As they come in, they process the loans. So that's how they're handling it. But the volume is immense, as you can imagine. Just be patient. And if they have any questions regarding your application, our SBA disaster team will reach out to you. Now, the deadline for these applications for the EIDL loan program is December 16th of 2020. So you have up till December 16th of 2020 to apply for these loans. Another thing that you should know is once you apply for the EIDL loan, you get a 12-month deferment. That means that for 12 months, you don't have to make any payments, interest, nothing, but 12 months, which gives you a little bit of room to recover. The interest is going to be accrued and it's going to be spread out over the term of the loan, but you'll have at least 12-month deferment of payments. Oreste, did you have something to add?
I was typing as you were. You see that picture of those people? That's the entire disaster team. No, I'm kidding. But it is, what's relevant is that SBA, I just want to step back a little bit. SBA only has 3,000 employees total, one of the smallest federal agencies. Of that 3,000, there's probably only a couple hundred that work disaster. And during a normal year, that's fine. There's a hurricane in Florida, they can work 5,000 businesses and whatnot. So what the SBA has done is they've they're bringing on 7,000 contractors to help process these loans. So that's a remarkable effort. But that's, you know, anyway, so that's, so the only status we can tell you is that if you've submitted your loan, it's being processed. They're doing the best. The original goal was to have money in hands by 21 days. They actually talked about getting the advance within 3 days. You know, the advance in 3 days hasn't happened. So, but the system's overwhelmed. It is what it is. I was answering a question, but I'll answer it now. Someone asked about the $10,000 advance. There is a relationship between the number of employees and the amount of the advance. Whether, you know, I can't confirm or deny whether it's $1,000 per employee or not, but the more employees, the higher your advance. But anyway, so there is that relationship. That's what I had, Lisa. Back to you.
Can I jump in? Because you just mentioned something, Lisa, that I think was the #1 question, which was really how do you know where you are, or if you're going to be successful, or the turnaround time? And it sounds like the only way to do it is an 800 number or an email, which that must be a lot of frustration for people. Is there work on trying to streamline that, so to communicate back to people?
That's what we have to work with. Right? Unfortunately, we at the district, it's a whole different system, our disaster team. We have no access to that database to go in and look up where someone's application process is. So all we can do is refer them to call 1-800 or send an email. But as they're processing the application, what they do is they're actually dispersing the advance first, even if they haven't finished processing your application. Even if you get declined, you still get the advance. And if they have any questions, they will come back to you, circle back to you, and ask any questions that they may have in reference to your application.
Okay, thank you.
Next slide, Erin. Okay, great. So another program that's available for entrepreneurs that can help them through this time is the SBA Express Bridge Loan. And it's just what it sounds like. It's something that helps small businesses that have a relationship with an SBA Express lender to access up to $25,000 quickly, just to hold them off until the EIDL loan is processed. So if a small business has urgent needs for cash while waiting for the decision and disbursement of the EIDL loan, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, they may qualify for an SBA Express Disaster Bridge Loan. But again, you have to have a relationship with an SBA Express lender. These loans are for up to $25,000. It has a fairly quick turnaround process, and it will be repaid in full or in part but when you get your Economic Injury Disaster Loan funding. So it's really just meant to hold you off until that application process has been completed. So what you have to do is go to your lender, ask them, do you happen to be an SBA Express lender, and then inquire about applying for the SBA Express Bridge Loan. Next slide, Erin. Great, thank you. There's also something called the Sba Debt Relief. So this is really helpful to small businesses who may have an SBA loan. So any SBA is providing a financial reprieve to small businesses during this pandemic. So SBA is going to automatically pay the principal and interest and fees of any current SBA lender, whether they have a 7A loan, a 504, a microloan, for up to 6 months. We're also going to be automatically paying the principal and interest and fees of any new 7A, 504, and microloans. Regular SBA loans are still happening. So anyone who obtains a loan prior to September 27th, SBA is going to pay the principal and interest and fees for up to 6 months. And that just creates a little bit of relief there. For current SBA service disasters, let's say that you did have a disaster loan out there. If your disaster loan was in regular servicing on March 1st of 2020, we're going to be providing an automatic deferment through December 31st of 2020. So that's, again, additional relief for our small business owners out there. Next slide, Erin. Great. So one of the things that we want small businesses to be a little bit careful about is there's a lot of fraud taking place. I just got off the phone with an economic development director of one of the communities here in Massachusetts who was pleading for me to do a presentation because a lot of small businesses in that area, they're getting all these offers about, hey, if you pay me $500, if you do this, you do that, I can help you with your application, I can get you the funding. Please, please, please know that every SBA, all these programs are free of charge. You don't have to pay anything to access these programs. And if you need help, we have help through our Sba Resource Partners. So through the SBA, I stated at the beginning, we have 3 resource partners. We have SCORE, we have the Small Business Development Center, and we have the Center for Women in Enterprise. Right now, they provide all the time free one-on-one business counseling, but right now they're doing it via Zoom, Skype, phone, or email. So you can reach out to our small business partners, which are part of the SBA family, and get help on, whether you need help putting together, updating your business plan, whether you need help with your cash forecast, whether you need help preparing your financial statements. They can help you with all of this. And this is the time to really do a checkup on your business. So reach out to our resource partners. We all work as a team, and they'll be able to meet with you, like I said, via Skype, Zoom, phone, or email, and help you as you prepare or see what's the best, help you assess what's the best situation for you as you move forward with your business. Next slide, Erin. Okay. So here it talks about SCORE. We're very fortunate that we have 6 SCORE chapters throughout the state of Massachusetts. We have over 300 counselors. They all have varied backgrounds, men and women with background and expertise in manufacturing, restaurant, retail, you name it. So reach out to your nearest SCORE chapter, and they'll be able to help you in every stage of starting and operating a business. And they're eager to help. We talk to our resource partners every day, and sometimes a question comes up and we troubleshoot it with one another to come up with an answer for our small business owners. So please reach out to SCORE. Next slide. Our next resource partner are the Small Business Development Centers. We have 6 small business development centers in the state. And again, they can also help you as you're getting ready to go through your financials, review your business plan, help you as you're filling out your application. We also have a couple of specialty small business development centers. One deals just solely on government contracting, for those of you who might be now maybe looking for a way to get more business, maybe you want to see what contracting opportunities are out there. So we have a government contracting SBDC. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more about maybe possibilities of exporting your product or service. We have an export small business development center, and all these are available to you free of charge. Next slide. And finally, our Women's Business Center, the Center for Women in Enterprise. We're very fortunate that we have 2 women's business centers in the state. We have one based in Eastern Mass out of Boston, and we have one based out of Central Mass in Westboro. And their mission is to empower small businesses to become economically self-sufficient and prosperous through entrepreneurship. So they have programs for starting a business, growing a business. They have a CPA, an attorney. They have a number of resources available to you. Reach out to them because they too can be of help to you as you're getting ready to review your business plan, your financials, and move forward with acquiring some funding that can help you get through these difficult times. And again, all these are free of charge. Thanks, Erin. So this is a snapshot of our disaster loan, our EIDL loan program application. As I stated, it's been streamlined, so it's a lot easier right now. It doesn't take very long. I think it takes about 10 minutes max to fill out. So if you go to the next slide, Erin. Yep. So just make sure that one thing that we hear that's holding up the application process is that folks are not reading the application closely, and sometimes they miss out on one section or they forgot to check off something. So make sure that you review the application before you submit it, because that really, if you don't fill out every section, that will hold up the processing of the application. So on the first section, you would just select one, as it states there, whether you are a business with not more than 500 employees, Are you a cooperative with no more than 500 employees? So you would select the one that applies to you. On the second section, you have to check off, are you engaged in any illegal activity? No principal of the applicant with a 50% or greater ownership. So read over each line and make sure that you check off the boxes, please, before you submit it. Next page, Erin. On the third section, again, it talks about character, and then it will ask you, as you see almost halfway through, you see that little checkbox that says, I would like to be considered for an advance to up to $10,000. You don't have to ask for it, but again, it's available to you, and this would turn into a grant. So before they even finish reviewing the application, even if you get denied on your loan request, you will still receive the advance. So we're encouraging everybody to submit their applications in and ask for that. So again, we check the filing requirements to ensure that all the information has been submitted. Again, the biggest delay is that folks miss out on information. They didn't check off one section. So make sure that you review your application before you send it in. One thing that we should note, so let's say that Stephanie applies for the loan, and they come back to Stephanie and they go, hey, Stephanie, great, here you go, you've been approved for this loan amount. You actually, Stephanie, can hold off. If you say, you know what, I'm still trying to review and see what other options I have out there, I'm not sure, you can actually hold off up to 6 months before you decide to go forward and take that loan. So you have 6 months to make that decision. Let's say that you say, you know what, I really don't need that much after all. You can actually ask for a reduction of the loan amount. And we don't know when this pandemic is going to end. We don't know when we're going to get back to normal, hopefully sooner than later. But let's say that you need additional funds. You can always go back and request additional funding. You will have to submit some financials and some required documentation, but you can always request for more should you need it. Rusty, did you want to add anything?
Not yet. You're
okay. Good. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about the popular program that everybody's been asking about, and that's the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program. So this program, I mean, it's what, 2 weeks old now, I think? It's fairly new. And it's really a loan designed for employers, for businesses to retain their employees. So the way that it works, it's going to be fully forgiven if the funds are used for payroll costs, interest and mortgage, rent, utilities, but 75% of the loan, it really has to be used for payroll. So oftentimes the question that we get is like, well, you know, we're closed right now. Well, what do we do? Again, it's really meant for you to bring your employees back on the payroll. Hopefully 8 weeks from now, from the time that you get the loan, all this will be over. In a way, it's really to make it easier once your business is up and running for your employees to get back on track, as opposed to you having to go out and retrain new people to do the job that your employees were doing. So the loan payments are going to be deferred for 6 months under the PPP. So again, that's an additional relief. No collateral or personal guarantees are required for this loan product. Neither the government nor lenders will charge any fee for this loan program. And one thing I should mention is the EIDL loan program, as you know, you go online, you go to a website, Treasury is giving the funds to SBA to give to you. Under this Paycheck Protection Program, you go through a lending institution, a bank or credit union, where you would apply and the loan officer would review the application. They would submit it to SBA for approval. They get an automatic approval from SBA, and typically within, hopefully 10 days or so, the funds are dispersed. So right now, we're hearing our lenders, as you can imagine, they're totally overwhelmed. Be a little bit patient with we have a lot of lending partners, about 135, I believe, in the state, and the volume is immense. But this is another program that might be available to you. The forgiveness, again, is based on the employer maintaining or quickly rehiring their employees and really keeping those salary levels. And this loan has a maturity of 2 years. So the interest rate is 1%. In the next slide, Erin. Nope. So again, it's for you to bring your employees back and pay up to 8 weeks of payroll costs, including benefits. They're provided in the form of a loan, and they're going to be, again, 75% has to be for payroll. Now, let's say you use some of it for interest, other things. Make sure you really keep track of how you're using the funds. That's what we're asking, we're encouraging or advising entrepreneurs to do. Keep track of what the funds are being used for, aside, if you're going to use it aside for payroll. Also, forgiveness is based on the employer maintaining, again, or rehiring your employees. Small business with 500 or fewer employees, nonprofit, veterans organizations are all eligible. And one thing that you should note is that this loan program is only, I think it's the next slide, Erin. It's only available through June 30th of 2020, whereas the economic injury disaster loan, you have till December of 2020 to apply. So you have to apply through an existing SBA lender. The loans can be up to 2 months of your average monthly payroll cost from the last year, plus an additional 25% of that amount. That amount is subject to a $10 million cap. And if you are a seasonal business, it's a little bit different calculation, but the payroll cost will be capped at $100,000 annualized for each employee. Again, you have a 2-year term with a 1% interest rate, and you have a deferment of 6 months, although the interest will accrue and it'll be spread out through the term of the loan. Again, no collateral, no personal guarantee, no fees associated with applying for this. And you would have to, through this PPP, you have to go through an SBA participating lender. Whereas through the EIDL, you go through the online application and submit it. So I think, Stephanie, you mentioned there were a lot of questions available. I want to leave time to really address the questions that folks may have. And I'll turn it over to you to guide us through that.
Well, thank you for all of that. That's a lot of information coming at us. So, and thanks for, we'll send that out to everyone and to go back for the details as well too. And I know there were a lot of questions being discussed via the chat box as well too while you were giving the presentation. And Oresti and Danielle, I think, were very helpful in answering some of those. So it seems like there's so many questions all over the place and on different programs as well too. So what I'd like to try to do in some attempt to kind of organize, I guess, is Erin, can you go? Yeah, I can't. Yeah, whoa, that's really small. Okay, so this is one of 3 pages of questions. And I think you've answered some of them, but if it's okay with everybody, what I'd like to try to do is just quickly go through these. And I have a feeling you're going to say, I need more detail or I need to follow up because there's the devil's in the detail with a lot of this stuff, right?
Right.
So maybe if you need more detail, we could, we'll open it up afterwards to the group if your questions aren't answered. But hopefully we can kind of go, hammer through these and then answer a good bulk of the questions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll read them out because I know some people are also on the phone as well too, just to get it all squared away. So the first question is, what is the best program for sole proprietors and very small LLC businesses?
Okay. So I guess, I mean, you really should consult your team, whether you have a lawyer, an attorney, a CPA, to see what's going to work best for you. But if payroll, I guess if you have costs above and beyond the EIDL, it's really difficult. I mean, you really have to talk to your lender and your team to see what's going to work best for you because it's case by case, and we really aren't here to really advise small businesses on how to proceed or which program, but these are the programs that are available to you. I don't know if, Oresti, if you want to elaborate on that. Did we lose Oresti?
He said he jumped on the phone because they lost power. So I don't know.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, just to add a little bit more drama in our lives.
So if you have costs above and beyond the EIDL, and but the PPP, the intent really is to bring employees on, whereas, in the forgiveness is to keep those employees on for 8 weeks. So I would definitely check with your team. And if you could always welcome to reach out to our small business development centers.
Okay,
I don't know what.
I just unmuted her.
Oh, there's Oreste. He's back.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you? Hold on one second.
We'll get through
You
this.
sound good now.
Yeah, you sound good.
You can hear me, but I can't hear you. Okay, hold on. All right, how about now?
I can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay. Yeah, my audio's going in and out. Then I called in and I was still muted. So I wanted to back up a little bit. You know, the first question there, the best program for sole proprietors, very small businesses. The best program is the PPP. That's the best program because it's up to 100% forgivable. So that's the best program, you know, to utilize. And there was a subsequent question, I think, in the chat box and maybe over here. Oh, I'm a sole proprietor, independent contractor. I don't have a payroll. Yeah, you have a payroll. You know, if you're paying yourself one way or another, you have payroll. You just have to be able to prove to the bank what you're paying yourself. There's got to be bank statements. There has to be something. There has to be, if you say that your payroll per month, whether you're a sole proprietor, you know, just you or not, that is $10,000 a month. You have to be able to prove it to the bank. Again, PPP is with the bank, EIDL is with SBA. So, and then what we say is like, okay, PPP, let's say you either you apply and you don't get it, or you still have these costs over and above your payroll, then apply for the PPP. I mean I'm sorry, the economic injury disaster loan. So you can apply for both. Someone asked on the side chat here about the relationship between the forgiveness of the grant on that EIDL loan and the forgiveness of the PPP. There is some relationship. You can't get your cake and eat it too. You can't get forgiveness with the grant and forgiveness with the PPP. But there's less details right now on forgiveness. The forgiveness doesn't begin until the funds are dispersed.
Okay. Yeah.
Or funds are dispersed, and more guidance is going. First, and more guidance is sort of several different questions.
Okay, and I think that was a question for that many people have asked as well too. And somebody asked as far as if you don't have payroll and you're just taking the third question, can the owner of a small business that is a single member LLC use PPP loans to pay themselves as an owner's draw, proportionate to draws taken during the 2019 tax years? In other words, if you don't have a payroll, if you just take money out of the
Right.
to the bank,
Yep.
Is that okay, or do you need to have it go through a payroll?
That's really going to become a bank's decision. They're going to have to prove to the bank the salaries. So technically, I mean, what we're reading, I would say, yeah, but it's really up to the bank to make that determination.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm just going to go through some of these questions and then and to get your answers. If you're an independent contractor, does the payroll you pay yourself qualify as forgivable loan? And it can an S corporation with no employees except for myself apply for PPP?
Apply. You have nothing to lose when you apply.
So you should always just apply, and
Just apply.
there's no harm in applying.
Nope, it's not going to hurt. It doesn't cost you anything.
Okay. Okay, great. I think
yeah, I saw Peter Milano raised his hand. I unmuted him. So Peter, you should be able to talk now.
Thank you, Erin and Stephanie. I two things I wanted to say. First, I wanted to say that Oreste was having a hard time communicating last time. But secondly, with relationship to the sole proprietors, the state is in fact in the process of standing up a system by which those entrepreneurs, small businessmen and women will be able to collect unemployment. There's a whole system that had never been in place We were briefed last week by Labor and Workforce Development Secretary Roz Acosta. They believe that system will be stood up by the end of April, so a couple more weeks. And you folks in the gig economy, self-employed, sole proprietors, small LLCs, employing yourselves, should be eligible and able to collect unemployment. And you will also be eligible for retro checks right back to the date when you were forced to shut down. That'll also open the door for the federal $600 per week per person, which is also retroactive to the end of, all the way back to March. So you'll be able to receive unemployment for the first time in this industry as well.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. And if there's any follow-up questions, just we'll write them in the chat or we'll open it up afterwards. Okay, but you're sticking with us for a second, right, Peter?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, thank
Well,
you.
I too had a power outage, so I had to come back on. Yeah, not bad enough. My power had to go out, right?
We'll get through it. We'll get through it. We'll make it stronger. All right, I'm going to jump down. And Lisa, you're still with us, so I'm going to keep asking you the questions as well too. So for startup businesses, can the required documents only have a September to March figures? And what are the required documents that business will need?
If that's all you have, that's all you have to supply. Again, you're going to have to work with the lender as you go through that PPP application process. They would
Okay.
let you know any additional documentations.
Perfect, thank you. And the next one I hear a lot. What if my bank is not participating in the PPP? I've checked with a few other banks, but they're only process applications from their own customers. And some banks have already stopped taking applications because they're overwhelmed. What is in place for businesses who do not have a relationship with an SBA lender? And where can I find a list of local SBA lenders?
So if you go to that site, one thing that they added is they have this little search engine now where you would put in your zip code and it brings up all the participating lenders within your a certain radius that are participating in the program. The volume, you have to understand, I mean, just be patient with the banks. They are working diligently through the hours of the night. They only, they're not used to this volume either. So we're all trying to get through this, but definitely go through that port and see if you can find other lenders that might entertain your application.
Great, thank you. And I have to give a shout out to the lenders because they really are working like day and night on this as well too. And then we'll put the link in the chat box. Danielle, if you have that link, I know you're good with, if you can put that in the chat box for everyone, thank you, that would be great. And I know that we've heard stories of different lenders who are still taking people as well too. So I think Danielle has a number of folks as well. So check with the chat lender. Oh no, go back to that. So my next question is, shoot, what was it? Oh yeah, in order to qualify for loan forgiveness, are we required to hire the same employees? What if we lose some people or do not rehire the same layoff workers but replace with other workers?
That should be okay. You're still getting the number of employees that you had when you were operating before this happened.
Okay, thank you. All right, I got a couple of questions here. Must all the PPP money be paid out by June 30th to qualify for loan forgiveness? What if we're not able to reopen until later than May 4th? And what if we need to reopen with limited capacity? And are we still going to require to have the same headcount and 75% payroll to qualify for forgiveness?
We don't know what's going to happen. So we're waiting for guidance. So we can certainly, if you want to email that to us, we can certainly check with our SBA disaster team and get more of a definitive answer for that question.
Okay, thank you. I think we've answered some of these. Does PPP impact applications for unemployment insurance, and should we be applying for unemployment in the interim?
I'm not sure if PPP, but I don't know how that, I don't know much about the uninsurance employment side of it. So if you want to send it to us, I can check with our team and see what they have seen. But PPP, again, it's for you to bring your employees back on board.
Okay, maybe we can follow up later as well too, and get some other folks online thoughts as well too. Can we apply to more than one lender until we receive the registration number for the loan?
I don't know that we would recommend that. Not sure that that's a good idea, but again, I don't know that you'd want to do that.
Okay, okay, no, it's good. I think people just want some feedback from somebody on the ground floor as well too. And Erin, do you have the next slide? And Danielle, I'm gonna, at some point, I know you've been monitoring the chat section, so maybe I could turn it over to you when I finish reading this and kind of go through some of the questions as well too that you see in the chat section. All right, thank you. For my PPP, are there any indication yet on how quickly the existing 350 billion is being spent down and when it may run out?
We know it's being spent. They're trying to get additional funding, so that's something that's being looked at right now.
Okay, thank you.
But there are funds there still, so.
Okay, thank you. What are the PPP loan forgiveness terms for small businesses? Are there monthly payments on the PPP loan due after receiving the loans, or are the payments deferred until the forgiveness amount is assessed?
So once you get the PPP, you have a 6-month deferment on payments.
Okay, so thank you. Okay, 75% of PPP funds must be paid to employees' wages and compensation. Does that include retirement funding?
Anything, remember the slide, it stated benefits and all that, so that should be
Yes.
part of it.
Okay. What if we can't use the funds within the time frame due to the majority of the employee not being able to return to work due to homeschooling, illness, and fear of getting sick?
That's something, if you want to send that to me, I can check with our team and see what they have, what they've recommended.
Okay, thank you. The next one is that we've submitted our application to our lender on April 6th. Assuming we were approved, when could we expect to see the funds? The news has talked about the smallest businesses being the last in line to process and distribute.
So again, they're being processed as they are received. They're really not, I know we hear the news, you hear the news, everybody hears the same news, but as they come in, that's how they're being processed. So it's not by size or anything like that.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. Okay. The funds utilized will only be forgiven if applied in the first 8 weeks. Do you think the time frame will remain firm?
We don't know what's going to happen. And as I said, we're getting guidance and news every day. So as we get more information, we'll certainly share that with everyone.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to keep throwing in. I know that you don't have the answers to a lot of these. I wrote down accountant. I'm sure you have to talk with your accountant about a lot. But still, and I know I'm going to be repeating to some extent too, but what's the turnaround time for PPP loans and how do the funds get dispersed to the company once approved?
I only caught part of that. What was it?
Oh, how do the funds get dispersed to the companies once approved?
So typically through the PPP, you would apply through a SBA participating lender. Once you apply, the lender submits that for the SBA approval and they get an automatic approval. And then what they have, it's typically usually about 10 days, 10 to 12 days. Now the volume is immense. So lenders are trying to go through these applications, but typically that's how it's meant. So money should be flowing down soon.
Okay, thank you. My company is a sole proprietor, myself and 4 employees, 1099s. I applied for the PPP and the EIDL. If approved, does it cover my pay and theirs as my 1099 employees? And should I start them and all of us on W-2 pays if approved? Should we be applying for unemployment in the interim? I think we had that already.
Okay, if you can send that to me, that's a long question.
Okay, all right, I'll send that to you. I know there's a lot of them out there, and they're all very, a lot of them are the same, but different slightly as well too. Which program would be better suited for my business, and how long do I have to pay it back? I think we did talk about that already.
Again, that's something that the business owner is going to have to, I would definitely encourage them to talk to our resource partners, review their situation so the business owner can make a determination of what they feel is going to work best for them.
Okay. And what is the mechanism to convert the EIDL to PPP? And what is the reason the state government funds have not been replenished and applications are closed? And if Peter's still unmuted, he can jump in there as well too. Because I think we're talking different programs.
I think Peter lost his power again, so I think he had to get off. Sorry.
So again, as Oreste stated earlier, you can't use the EIDL loan, the EIDL funds, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and the Payment Protection Program funds for the same purpose. So you can't use them for the same thing. So that's the one thing you have to just remember. PPP is really intended to bring your employees back, whereas the EIDL is for working capital and to
Okay.
get the business back to where it was prior to the disaster hitting.
Okay, great, thank you. And I think we talked about the amount of the advances for the disaster loans as well
EIDL,
too.
yep.
And
Up to 10,000.
up to 10,000, yep. And let's see, I've completed the 10,000 advance applications for sole proprietor without employees. I'm waiting for my bank to send me the link to apply for the underlying loan. Is there a holdup on the banks getting the information? And will the delay between the loan advance application to the SBA and the application for the underlying loan prejudice me in any way in receiving the advance for the loan?
So that one, I'm a little confused because the EIDL, the economic injury disaster loan, that's, again, the monies come from Treasury to SBA to you. So at the end, you're going to have to submit your checking account number, your routing number in order for the funds to be deposited. The PPP, you would apply directly to an SBA participating lender. So I'm a little confused as to part of that question.
You know, we'll skip over that, and if the person who asked it can stand the line and clarify it, how's that?
And maybe that, you know, even you can even email it to me, and I can get with the team and make sure that we're able to address all parts of that. If they're able to, but just make sure they explain further.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And Erin, can we go to the next slide as well too? I've got a few more. Okay, so this person applied for the disaster loan and was surprised that the application did not ask for the requested loan amount. How is the amount of the disaster loan determined? What counts? And is this application just preliminary, or should we expect a follow-up?
So when you apply for the EIDL loan program, it's for loans up to $2 million. And again, the loan analyst is going to look at it, and it's to get the business back to where it was prior to the disaster hitting. So it doesn't, that's why I stated not everyone's going to get $2 million, but that's the maximum. So that's the only application that you would fill out. And if they have any questions, they'll certainly follow up with you.
Okay, great. And that leads to the next one where someone applied for the loan program, but they're wondering what's the expected process and the timing on future communication to confirm the receipt and the status.
So when they applied, they should received a loan application number. I think that's what they mean by confirmation number, maybe.
Okay.
So if they received an application number, that's fine. If they were able to request the advance, that's also good. If you did not get a chance to request the advance and you applied beforehand, we're suggesting for folks to go back and reapply to ask for the advance. That's not going to kick your application of where it is in queue, but you'll have the opportunity to request that up to $10,000 advance.
And is that just checking that little box?
Correct.
Oh, okay, simple. Okay, there are businesses delaying participation because they hear that things are not organized, the process is difficult. I'm not certain if these are issues, but they're just looking for a recommendation in terms of encouraging businesses to apply. But I think we got a lot of that already.
Right. I mean, it's all fair. It's all new to us. We've never been in this situation before, and these programs were put together and the volume is immense. So we're getting guidance every day, and we're trying to make it as easy and streamlined for entrepreneurs to be able to get the funding they need to be able to recover and move forward.
Yeah, and let me say just thank you for all the work that you guys are doing as well too. I mean, like you said, it's all new and you're responding and being flexible. So I do appreciate that as well too. I'm just going to go through the bottom, the next three, and then I'm going to open it up as well too. My credit score has gone down because I've missed payments. Is this going to hurt businesses?
You know, we don't have a credit score that we go by, but it's fairly, we're hearing that folks with, you know, not even a perfect credit score, they're able to get the financing that they need. So we definitely would encourage them to apply.
Okay, great. And then is there any contingency plan that companies should do if they don't get federal support?
If they don't get the funding that they need? Yeah. You know, reach out to our resource partners and reach out to us and we'll see what we can do. As I said, the program is, you know, we're getting guidance every day. So definitely that's something that we can take on with the team and see what other alternatives there are.
Okay, great. And there's a question with grants as well, if there are any grants available. I'm assuming everything that's available is covered in the presentation, but I'll,
That's what we have right now.
yeah, okay, great. And I'm gonna, first of all, I'm gonna unmute Danielle because I'm tired of hearing my voice. I want her to come in. And Danielle, I know you've been doing a lot with the chats and being involved with that. Are there any questions that were on the chats that we should address before we open it up?
I've honestly I'm at the bottom of the chat. Now I'm going up because I was trying to monitor what was happening in real time. So I don't even know where you are in the chat at this point.
All right, well, let me do that. How about, Aaron, you have control to open it up to the, unmute it, right, to everyone? And raise hand if you have questions. We can certainly unmute you.
Well, I would also, what you should be able to raise your hand, which might be a better way to go about the questions. So yeah, if you can see that.
I can't see that. Oh, wait. You unmuted everybody. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna unmute everybody. We're gonna mute everybody and we'll ask you to unmute yourselves if you have a question as well. I can't see who is raising their hand, so I'm not able to do that. I guess I gotta learn that part of it. Wait.
All right, I'm scrolling through it.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at a question. The average monthly payroll from the last year, is it 12 months, 2019, or trailing 12 months? I believe it's 12 months trailing February 15th. I believe that's the trailing, the way you would calculate the average monthly payroll.
Okay. Thank you. Aaron, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is there anyone raising their hand at this point?
No. But there's some new questions coming in. Do you want to go through? Do you see them?
Yeah, I do. Will the time frame to calculate the utilization, which 8 weeks? When will it be required to submit that and how?
The 8 weeks. The 8 weeks start the minute the loans are dispersed, that you get the funding.
Thank you.
That's a lender. That's to the when.
I'm sorry?
My bank told me the opposite of what you said regarding owner's draw. They told
Sorry,
me
my internet's going down again.
the owner must be on payroll because certain tax stocks are required. Do you have other suggestions regarding this situation?
Say that again, Danielle.
My bank told me the opposite of what you said regarding owner's draw. They told me that the owner must be on payroll because certain tax stocks are required. Do you have any other suggestions regarding this situation?
If you can email that to us, we can check that with our disaster team and see what other suggestions they may have that we can share with that person.
Okay, I've got a question from Jim Murphy.
Hey, Stephanie. My question, I don't know if this has been addressed, but there's been some discussion out of a Washington office about phase 4 and the items that are going to be looked at by the legislature when they come back after April 20th. And some of the things that they may be looking at is funding, including chambers of commerce for the funding for PPP, also for really a larger focus on the hospitality industry. Does SBA have any updated predictions on what the legislature may address for phase 4? And what's the most educated guess of what we'll be able to get through for funding on phase 4?
Hey, Lisa, I'll answer this one.
Good.
Lisa and I Lisa and I are little people out in the field. So no, we don't have a feel. Even our state director, we don't get involved with that. He's not even involved in those things. So that's politicians, congressmen. You could ask your congressmen or women or senators, those things, that's up to them. So no, we just, once policy is implemented, then we do our best to convey it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got a question from Kathleen Plath. Are there any programs, EIDL or PPP, work for a business, a restaurant that just formed with plans to open on April 1st, however, cannot open now? There's no previous wages or revenue to show. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it has to have been open February.
A hand from Carson family. I'll unmute you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so one of the things that I was curious about, and I'm probably not the only one, is they kept talking about, when they talked about employees and they talked about group health insurance benefits, I only pay $10,000 for myself and my family for Massachusetts Health Connector benefits. I mean, intuitively, it's like, well, if I had a group, it would be a group policy. Does that mean those aren't included in consideration of wages for either program? Does that make sense?
Yeah, who wants to answer that one?
Yeah, if you can send that to me, I'll have to check with our team on that.
Okay, is your email address listed somewhere?
Yes, at the end of the presentation.
Okay, great,
It's
thank
my
you.
name, lisa.welch@sba.gov.
Okay, appreciate it.
I'll put that in the chat right now.
Thank you. All right, I've got a question from Dave Gilbert. One question we have, our companies made the EIDL application, including the $10,000 request, but we haven't received a confirmation email in the application. Is that normal?
Yes, they're not going to send a confirmation email. Once you apply for the EIDL loan program, you should get a loan number. So
Okay.
if they have any questions in reference to the application, the SBA disaster team will contact the entrepreneur.
Great, thank you. I am an owner of a small professional service firm. I pay myself through my payroll service. Does paying myself count as payroll cost?
Yes.
It should. Yep.
Okay. Okay, I had a hand up there, but I don't see any other hands. I guess.
Yeah, there was one, now it's gone, so I don't know. Yeah.
There's a couple of questions about this $15,000 cap. Came out from the U.S. Chamber, New York Times, the Globe, and so on and so forth. If there's truth in that,
Poor Rusty.
Oh no, you froze right then.
this morning, and there's no mention
Yeah.
of it, but that's not,
So we haven't heard that.
not the policies. We understand that.
Okay.
Right.
And then I've got a question that if you receive the EIDL advance grant, does that affect your PPP application?
No.
All right, I think we
It
went.
doesn't affect.
Go ahead.
It doesn't affect the application, but there is a relationship between the grant and PPP forgiveness. You can't get forgiveness on both sides of the hand, both sides. So there is a relationship there that the lender's basically gonna have to figure out on the end of those 8 weeks.
Okay.
Stephanie, do you see the question? Krista and Dean want to raise a hand, so I'm going to mute Krista.
Great, thanks.
Hi, this is Krista and Dean. First of all, thank you so much for all your time. This is very, very helpful, and we appreciate it. If, when we're looking at wages and compensation, if you are funding your employees' retirement through a safe harbor, a 401k, or a profit sharing, and it is not done through your payroll, but done as a separate contribution, is that applicable? Is that funds covered through PPP because it's still compensation?
That I'm not sure of. And when you put in that application, you would definitely want to communicate with the bank on that. Ultimately, the bank has to do some due diligence as to what the number is. I mean, it's incumbent upon the applicant to determine what the average payroll is, but that's a very unique question.
We did include monthly amount, and the loan was approved.
Well, then that's good. That's good news. That's good news then.
Great.
But yeah, I guess the ultimate question is, will that contribution be forgiven because it's still compensation being paid to the employees?
And that, again, the forgiveness that we have at least 8 weeks or more to figure out forgiveness. And when anyone goes to the website and they look up the PPP program, they'll see that one of the statements is further guidance will be provided. So, things are going to change. I can guarantee you that things will change as time goes on.
Thank you so much for your response.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At this point, I think we went through the questions that were asked. If not, please raise your hand or retype it in. Okay. Okay, wait. Oh yeah, we're getting the presentation. We're going to send that to everyone. That's an easy question. Wait, I don't understand this question. I think I will get 50,000 in PPP and 10,000 in disaster forgivable. Do I have to submit documentations for forgiveness of PPP for the 50 or the 60K?
You would, my understanding at this point would be you would disclose to the lender. The lender's going to reach back to you to validate forgiveness. And, at the end of those 8 weeks or at some point in time in the future. And then you would convey to them, hey, I received a $10,000 grant. And they, would have to do that calculation. That's my understanding on this end, this side of this program.
Okay, thank you. So it seems to me the bottom line is this is changing so quickly that you really need to stay in touch with your lender. Certainly, if you don't have a lender, I think we included in here, but we can certainly put in our follow-up email the link to find an SBA lender, and stay tuned to your website as well too. And I know I don't know if Peter's still on here, but I know the state has a very robust website too that's constantly changing. So the SBA and the state's website are great for federal and state programs. There's some local websites as well too, and we'll send you this information.
Stephanie, this is Lisa.
Yes, Lisa.
If you go to the last slide on the PowerPoint, one thing that we're encouraging folks to do is to sign up for our newsletter, and they'll be on the pulse of what's going on as policies change, new programs are implemented, anything and everything that's available. So right at the bottom, see, to get the most up-to-date information, you definitely want to visit our website and subscribe to our e-newsletter.
Perfect. Thank you. You've got a lot of the mechanisms in place, and so thank you guys for all your work that you're doing. I know you're pulling these crazy long days and weekends and such, and you're really trying to respond and get people through it. So thank you for all you do. We'll keep throwing out the information. If I'm missing anything, Erin, Danielle, Lisa, Aristide, am I missing anything?
No, you did a great job.
Okay.
Thanks for organizing this. Appreciate it.
Everything. Please keep in touch with us if anyone has any questions.
Thank you.
All right. You guys have a great day.
Everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.